We're now on day 5 of the October leg of the JSC interviews. Today will be all about the KwaZulu-Natal Division of the High Court, both in Pietermaritzburg and in Durban. There'll be 3 candidates vying for the head of the court, that is the judge president of that particular division. Now, out of the 3 candidates, Judge Madondo will be back to appear before the JSC Commission. Now, you may remember him from the April 2022 interviews where he was called out for some problematic statements that he made on a book that had a chapter on homosexuality where he expressed problematic statements and based them off of the belief systems contained in the Bible. He was questioned on whether he could be trusted to adjudicate matters with sensitive groups such as the LGBTQI community. To help us unpack further, I'm joined by legal analyst Mr. Benedict Perry, who's going to help assist in looking at the KwaZulu-Natal division, as well as this candidate that is attempting to go for that position, knowing that he is at an age of 69. And of course, there's this big issue of some of the problematic statements that he's made. As we understand in his application, in his cover letter today, he's going to state that he's gone to a diversity course and that he has since retracted those problematic statements and released a newer version of that book. What are your thoughts on him returning, knowing that he's only at the age of 69, he'll have to retire in November of 2023 next year? Is it worth trying to return to this division, or should they be looking at different candidates?
Yeah, I think, judges are usually quite elderly and have had long experience either on the bench or a senior counsel. So his age isn't necessarily a problem, but the problem is the fact that he'll be retiring in a year and will be back here, just shortly after that for the same interview for the same role. So I think he will be quizzed on that and, asked really tough questions. He has been asked questions on that before, but I think he can content himself with the fact that judges are essentially appointed for life, and he'll have a long-lasting contribution to the law. As we know, retired judges play a critical role. Insofar as his homophobic comments in his book are concerned, I think it's great that he did take the step to retract and correct those. The Constitution, you've heard, has played a fundamental and central role in these interviews. So I think it would be great if he can locate his conduct and his steps towards those retractions within the context of the Constitution and upholding and promoting the Constitution in his work as a judge and also just in his private affairs.
Now, it'll be likely that if he is recommended, it would be from January, which would make it 11 months until he has to retire, and that position needs to be filled again, and this process would have to start again. Again, I'm asking, is it necessary for this candidate to return for the progression of the jurisprudence, rather, in the KwaZulu-Natal Division of the High Court?
I think it's not, the wisest. It wouldn't be the wisest to not consider the fact that he's retiring in 11 months. And we've heard the type of questions that the JSC has been posing to judges in these leadership roles, or for instance, the ones that applied for other judge president roles or the SCA. There are questions about leadership, a commitment to transformation and ensuring that whatever plans they have in place can actually be implemented at a scale that is actually sustainable. So I think, for an 11 months period, there wouldn't be much to be able to implement. But we must be fair, he is the Deputy Judge President, so he does play a critical administrative role in that court and has been doing so for a while. So there may be, it might be worthwhile to think, well, there is questions of institutional memory. But I think it will be a bit of a problem that we'll be back here after November 2023.
Yes. And an important point raised by the Speaker of Assembly when she was at these interviews in April was the question of whether he can be trusted to adjudicate matters that will affect these communities, in which he made those previous statements in his book. A whole chapter in his book was based on that. So can he be trusted, or are there prejudices that exist and could exist should he be appointed in that court?
I think we must be fair and recognize that Judge Matondo has had incredible judgments, from a broad range of subjects, and that have actually withstood scrutiny even from a constitutional court perspective. So, his contribution to judging and the law is actually quite stellar. Now, the question is, obviously, if there's a matter before him that involves the gay community, there would be a question of whether he should recuse himself. I mean, that would be a question that would come up immediately. And so, he's a judge, and we trust that judges make good decisions, but it is going to be a question of putting himself up for attack in that position.
Yes, all right. Thank you so much. That was legal analyst Mr. Benedict Perry just giving us analysis ahead of the JSC interviews for the head of the court in KwaZulu-Natal. As I've stated, at 9 a.m., Judge Matondo will be the first candidate to be interviewed by the JSC. He'll have to explain his close retirement as well as the statements, and we understand that he will explain that he has attended a diversity course and he has since retracted some of those statements that he was called out for in the April interviews and released a new format of the book that does not include that chapter on homosexuality.